Think about General Electric. I mean, for, gosh, over a century, it was this massive industrial name, right? Everyone knew GE.
Absolutely. Synonymous with American industry, innovation.
Then, boom, they hire an outsider CEO, Larry Culp. And just a few years later, the whole thing's being split. 3 separate companies.
It's a huge shift, really radical, and it just highlights how critical and honestly how hard it is for any organization to actually pull off its strategy,
It's
to execute.
exactly execution. That's what we're digging into today in this short take on strategy.
Right. We're focusing on Chapter 9 of Ketchen and Short's Mastering Strategic Management, the 4th edition. And this chapter, it really gets into the mechanics, how
Right.
companies organize themselves, how they control things to make strategy happen.
Yeah. And, whether you're running a team, a company, or you're just curious about how businesses work, this deep dive should give you a good handle on the basics. How any organization, big or small, actually gets stuff done.
hmm We'll try to unpack the core ideas without, drowning you in jargon.
Yeah.
Just the fundamentals.
So what's the plan? What are we covering?
Okay, so we'll start with the basic building blocks of organizational structure, how work gets divided up, how the pieces connect.
Okay.
Then we'll look at different types of structures, simple, functional, all the way to matrix and boundaryless.
Got it.
We'll also hit organizational control, why it matters, the different ways companies do it, output, behavioral, clan control.
And maybe some pitfalls there too?
Oh, definitely. And management fads. Then we'll wrap up with a quick look at the legal forms of business.
Sounds good. Let's dive in. Building blocks first. Division of labor.
Yeah, division of labor, it's fundamental, just breaking down a big job into smaller, specialized tasks.
Like the classic example, Adam Smith.
Exactly. The wealth of nations, the pin factory. One person doing everything makes maybe 20 pins, but split it among 10 specialists. Suddenly you're looking at, 48,000 pins a day? It's a massive efficiency gain through specialization.
Mind-blowing, really. And it's not just factories. You mentioned Moses in the outline, setting up a hierarchy.
A very early form, yeah. Delegating tasks. And Henry Ford, of course, with the assembly line, took specialization to a whole new level.
Boosted efficiency like crazy. But then
Yeah.
you've got a new problem, right? Coordination.
Exactly. All these specialized people, all these separate tasks, you need a way to make sure they all work together. That's where organizational structure comes in.
So structure is like the blueprint. How tasks are assigned, grouped, who reports to who.
Precisely. It defines those formal reporting relationships. Coca-Cola actually did a big restructure back in 2020, streamlined things to try and improve focus and, efficiency, adapting their structure.
Okay, so the structure helps coordinate. And the chapter talks about different kinds of links, vertical and horizontal. What's the deal there?
Right. Vertical linkages are your classic up and down relationships. Supervisor to subordinate.
A chain of command.
Exactly. Who delegates, who oversees, who evaluates performance. And that idea of unity of command, ideally reporting to just one boss, is key here.
Makes sense. Avoids getting mixed signals.
Definitely. Then you have horizontal linkages. These are connections between people at the same level. Peers, basically. Peers, yes. Often through things like committees, task forces, teams. They're crucial for coordinating across different departments.
Like getting marketing and production to talk to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whole Foods Market is a good example. They really emphasize teams to try and foster that cross-functional collaboration.
Okay, vertical, horizontal. But then there are informal links too, like the office grapevine.
It's more than just gossip, though that can be part of it. It's the unofficial relationships, the friendships, the rivalries.
Yeah.
Things not on the org chart.
The Homer Simpson example from the book. Getting influence with Mr. Burns through bowling.
Perfect illustration. Those informal networks can actually have a huge impact, sometimes good, sometimes bad, on how things really get done.
Okay, so those are the building blocks. Now, how do companies put them together? Let's talk structures. Starting simple.
Right. The simple structure. It's, simple. Not much formal division of labor, few rules, often found in sole proprietorships.
Like Moe's Tavern or the comic book guy's shop.
Exactly. One person often does most things, or maybe a small group informally divides tasks. Decision-making is very centralized.
So it's flexible, maybe creative?
It can be, especially early on. But the downside is, tasks might get overlooked. And as you grow, it often doesn't provide enough clear guidance or structure.
So when things get bigger, you move to functional.
Often, yes. A functional structure groups employees by, their function. Marketing, production, HR, finance. All the marketing folks report to a marketing head, and so on.
Create specialists. Seems efficient.
It can be very efficient for developing deep skills in those areas. But the big drawback is often slowness to change. Silos can form.
Silos, like departments not talking to each other.
Exactly. The textbook example of the publisher struggling with a scratch and sniff book because editorial, production, marketing couldn't coordinate easily. That highlights the problem. It can hinder agility.
Right. Everyone's optimizing their own little world. So what if you're huge, like GE was? Lots of different products, different places.
That's usually where a multidivisional structure comes in.
Yeah.
You break the company into divisions, maybe based on products or geography or even customer types.
Like GE had energy, capital, aviation, separate businesses almost.
Pretty much. And the idea is that each division can be faster, more responsive to its specific market. Like when GE's energy division bought that John Wood Group unit, the rest of GE wasn't heavily involved, so it could happen faster.
Better customer focus, maybe?
Often, yeah. But the downside, it could be expensive. You might duplicate functions like HR or marketing in each division.
Ah, redundancy.
Right. So companies often try to centralize some key functions, maybe corporate HR, legal, finance, to get some efficiency back. Think of Coca-Cola's Central Office of Sustainability setting company-wide goals.
But giving divisions lots of freedom can backfire too, right? Like that McDonald's France ad.
Oh,
Yeah, where they basically told kids not to eat there too often. Not exactly aligned with the global brand message.
Yeah.
Shows the risk of too much divisional autonomy sometimes.
Oops. Okay, so functional, multidivisional.
Oh.
What about matrix? That sounds complicated.
It definitely can be. Matrix structures rely heavily on cross-functional teams. So you might report to your functional boss, say head of engineering, and also to one or more project managers.
2 bosses or more.
Potentially, yeah. The idea is flexibility, pulling the right people together for specific projects, improving communication across silos.
Yeah.
It can also be good for developing managers.
Well, multiple bosses violates that unity of command thing, doesn't it? Sounds confusing. Potential for conflict.
That's the main challenge, absolutely. Who do you prioritize when bosses give conflicting directions? You can also get turf wars over resources over the best people for projects.
Yeah, I can see that. Ed Whittaker at GM apparently hated their matrix structure.
He did. He thought it slowed things down immensely. But for some places, like maybe engineering firms, consulting, R&D departments, where you need that constant cross-functional work on projects, it can work well.
Where the project focus is really central. Okay, last one. Boundaryless organizations. Sounds kind of idealistic.
It's a concept Jack Welch pushed hard at GE. The goal is to remove barriers, internal ones between departments, and even external ones with suppliers and customers.
Fewer silos, more collaboration.
That's the aim. W. L. Gore, the Gore-Tex people, are often cited. They famously don't use org charts or formal titles much. Leadership kind of emerges organically.
Wow, very fluid.
Extremely fluid, fosters flexibility, responsiveness. But the flip side is it can be harder to manage, ensure clear accountability.
Right. How do you make sure everyone's pulling in the same direction?
It's a challenge. The chapter mentions the coordination problems between the National Guard and the military during Hurricane Katrina before they had dual status commanders. That shows the cost of unclear boundaries in a crisis. You still need some clarity.
So structures aren't set in stone. Companies change them.
Oh, constantly. Or at least they should consider it. Structure needs to support the strategy. If decisions get slow, performance drops, innovation lags, that might signal the structure isn't working anymore.
Like GE simplifying in 2017 to speed things up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or think about Cisco under John Chambers. They went all in on horizontal linkages, boards, councils, committees.
Sounds bureaucratic.
It became incredibly complex. And they were slow to react when HP changed to warranty, and Cisco lost market share because of it. Chambers eventually had to dial it back.
So complexity isn't always better.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Microsoft, Yum, brands. They both restructured around 2013, aiming for more speed and agility, too. It's a common theme.
Okay, so structure sets the stage, but you need to make sure people are actually doing what the strategy requires. That's control systems.
That's right. Organizational control systems are how executives track performance against goals, spot problems, and, take corrective action, get things back on track.
And there are 3 main types.
Yep. Output control, behavioral control, and clan control.
Output control sounds pretty straightforward, measuring results.
Exactly. It focuses on measurable, tangible outcomes. Website hits, units produced, sales figures, project milestones met.
Like Delta Airlines tracking on-time performance.
Perfect example. They used that output data, saw where they were lagging, and made changes, more service, training, even the Delta Assist Twitter account. And their performance improved.
So it's about the numbers, the results.
Pretty much.
Hmm.
Even your grades in college are a form of output control.
Okay. What about behavioral control then? That sounds more like rule.
It is. Behavioral control focuses on the actions, the processes, using rules, procedures, policies to guide how people do their jobs.
Like safety rules
Yeah.
or dress codes.
Exactly. Hand washing signs in restrooms, specific steps for assembling a product, company policies on expenses. It's all behavioral control.
The GM banned word list during the ignition switch mess. That seems like an extreme example.
A very striking and probably ineffective example, yes. But it shows the attempt to control behavior directly. Even penalties for missing class in college fit here, and reward systems tying bonuses to certain actions or procedures.
Hold on a second. Slight pause.
Yeah.
Did a car just plow over the mailbox across the street and keep going?
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, behavioral control.
Yeah.
All those rules, I get why you might need some, but doesn't it just feel, well, demeaning? Like you don't trust people.
Well, I mean, you could argue they provide necessary structure,
Okay.
clarity,
Right.
especially in big organizations or where safety is critical. People know what's expected. It reduces ambiguity.
But it also kills initiative. If there's a rule for everything, people stop thinking. They just follow the checklist. It treats adults like children who can't be trusted to use their judgment. Where's the room for creativity or finding a better way?
But hang on, if you don't have behavioral controls, how do you ensure consistency, quality, safety? Imagine a factory floor with no safety protocols, or finance without compliance rules. It would be chaos. Rules aren't always about distrust. Sometimes they're about ensuring a standard, protecting people.
I just fundamentally disagree with the premise that people need that level of prescriptive control to function effectively. It breeds dependency, not ownership. You get compliance, maybe, but not commitment or innovation. It drives me crazy thinking about working under that kind of system.
Okay. Let's move to the third type, which might actually resonate more with your point about trust and autonomy. Clan control.
All right, clan control. What's that? Sounds less rigid.
It is. It's much more informal. It relies on shared values, traditions, norms, a strong organizational culture to guide behavior. It's not about written rules. It's about the way we do things around here.
So it's about culture shaping behavior.
Exactly. Getting people to buy into the mission, the values, so they naturally align their actions. You see a lot in creative fields, high tech.
Right.
Google's 20% time, or their internal ideas mailing list, fostering innovation through shared purpose, not just rules.
That sounds much better. More empowering.
It can be. Think about strong campus traditions at a university, how they shape student life. Or the example of the Florida DMV folks getting training from Disney and Publix, trying to build that customer-centric culture, that clan control around service.
It's about building that shared identity.
Right. Even tools like 360-degree feedback, getting input from peers and subordinates, can reinforce clan control by emphasizing collaboration and shared expectations based on company values.
Okay, output, behavioral, clan. But the chapter also mentions management fads, like business trends that come and go.
Yeah, exactly like fashion fads. They get super popular, everyone jumps on board, then they kind of fade away as the next big thing arrives.
Any examples?
Sure. Management by objectives,
Right.
MBO, big in the 70s, focused heavily on output control, setting measurable goals. Sounded great, but often hard to quantify everything important, like teamwork. Sometimes led to tunnel vision on just hitting the numbers.
Right. Google's OKRs seem like a modern evolution of that, maybe. Objectives and key results.
More nuanced version, yeah. Often more ambitious, transparent, reviewed more frequently. Then you had quality circles, a behavioral control fad, getting workers involved in quality improvement.
Good idea in principle.
Definitely. But the fad often focused too narrowly just on quality, ignoring speed or cost. Toyota still uses employee involvement effectively, but the fad aspect faded.
What else?
Sensitivity training, T groups. That was more clan control focused,
Right.
trying to improve teamwork and understanding through intense group sessions. Sometimes backfired, though.
Sounds potentially awkward.
Could be. And then the huge organizational culture fad in the 80s, after In Search of Excellence. Everyone wanted a strong culture, like the companies in the book.
But culture alone isn't enough.
Turns out, no. Many of those excellent companies stumbled later. The takeaway with fads is they often have a kernel of truth, but they're rarely the whole solution. You usually need a balance of different controls.
Don't just chase the latest buzzword.
Exactly. Like Kerouac said, great things are not accomplished by those who yield to trends and fads and popular opinion.
Wise words. Okay, last topic. Legal forms of business. How does that choice tie into structure and control?
It's foundational.
Sure.
The legal form, sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation affects liability, taxes, how you manage assets, how ownership is structured. It sets basic parameters.
Sole proprietorship, one owner, simple, but they're personally on the hook for debts.
Right. Partnership, two or more owners, share profits, usually share liability too. Good for pooling skills.
And corporations legally separate from owners, limited liability, but that double taxation issue.
Correct. Though you have S corporations to avoid double taxation, but they have limits on shareholders, so not for big public companies.
And LLCs. Limited liability companies, they seem popular.
Very. They kind of lend features, limited liability like a corporation, but often with the tax flexibility and management structure of a partnership. Good for many smaller businesses, consultants, builders. And, the Lean Startup talks about aligning structure with your long-term vision right from the start, which connects back to this legal foundation.
It really all connects. The legal form, the structure, the control systems, all need to work together to execute strategy.
Exactly. They're all interconnected pieces of the puzzle.
Well, this has been really illuminating, a great short take on strategy. Let's maybe quickly recap the highlights for everyone listening.
Sure. We looked at how organizational structure, division of labor, vertical and horizontal links forms the backbone for getting things done.
Right. And the different types.
Yeah.
Simple, functional, multidivisional, matrix, boundaryless, each with trade-offs.
Then we covered the 3 types of organizational control output, behavioral, and clan needed to keep things on track, plus the rise and fall of management fads.
And finally, there's basic legal forms of business and how they shape everything else.
Hopefully you, the listener, have a better feel now for these fundamental concepts, how organizations tick, how they try to adapt and succeed.
Yeah, maybe think about your own workplace or companies you deal with. What structures and controls do you see?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. In this super fast-paced, tech-heavy world we're in, what's next? What will the dominant organizational structures and control systems look like in the future?
Ooh, good question. How will they balance efficiency, flexibility, and, the human side of things, especially after our little debate on behavioral control?
Exactly. How do you manage effectively and treat people well? It's the ongoing challenge, something definitely worth pondering.